All right, here he is, Jimmy the Brick Flick, back on the show now, who will finally be back in action coming out of retirement. He's got a fight against Charles Johnson on January the 14th at UFC Fight Night 217. Jimmy, how you doing?
Hey man, I'm doing good. First time to come back on and be able to talk about this new opponent.
Absolutely. So initially, Jeff Molina was the opponent. That was scrapped fairly recently. When did you find out about the opponent change?
About 2 hours after Hunter Campbell sent that email out to everybody.
Okay. And what did you think when you first found out that, Molina's out and Johnson's in?
Uh, Actually, you can go back to a couple weeks ago when Charles Johnson fought, and after his interview, he stated that he wanted to be the most active flyweight and take a fight. Whenever it came about. For some reason that night, I thought I was like, I'm gonna end up fighting Charles Johnson. Not mainly because of the Kraus situation. I just don't feel like Molina was too excited about me. This guy's 3-0 in the UFC, 13th ranked in the world, and his fourth fight on his contract is a guy that's coming out of retirement that's 1-0, hasn't fought in 2 years. So I just felt like they weren't excited about it, and I don't feel like it was a great matchup for him where he's at in his career. So uh, when I seen that interview, I just thought I'd fight Charles Johnson, and then less than 2-3 weeks later, I'm fighting Charles Johnson. So
Okay. Well, here we are. What do you think as far as just the differences in styles and just, if it's a harder fight fighting Johnson versus Molina, do you feel like this is a more difficult fight for you now?
we're in the UFC, so there is no easy fight. I mean, they're all difficult fights. Like, I love the comments from people like, this is an easier one, this is a harder one. Like, honestly, we don't know. I mean, until we fight each other, you don't know nothing. But I'll tell you what, training camp is always hard. So the fight is always going to be the easiest part for me because I don't go through what I go through in a fight like I go through in my training camp. So no matter what I go through, like I know the fight's gonna be hard. Whether I win in 30 seconds or I don't get beat up, I win by flying triangle. It doesn't matter. The fight's always the easiest part because the training camp's what's hard. So if your training camp ain't hard, then yeah, your fight's gonna be harder. But I'm just excited to be back. I love the fact that I was supposed to fight the number 13th ranked guy in the world, but hey, to fight somebody like Charles Johnson, he's a former LFA champ, probably one of the very few, if not the only LFA champ to defend the flyweight title successfully. And he deserves it, man. I think we're going to put on a show. I love his style. He comes forward, I come forward. And Charles has never been finished. And if you know me, my only goal is to finish the fight. So I think he'll have the same goal. And I think it's going to be an entertaining flyweight fight January 14th.
As you mentioned earlier, he just fought. It was in November. He had a split win over Zalgat Jumagalov. Hopefully, I said that semi right there. But what did you think of that performance? That when it was a tough fight. I mean, Jumagalov came to bang. He was really showed a lot of heart in there. What was your overall assessment of that fight?
To be honest, I didn't watch it. I try not to watch certain flyweight fights now because I will judge them based on that fight, and I don't like judging people in their last fights because every fighter changes. Training camps, their mental aspect, what they went through, you never know. So I allow my coaches to watch all the fights now and kind of give me a game plan of what he thinks we should do or how we're going to fight. But like I said, my game plan's always the same, and it's to finish the fights. We know where I'm good at. There's no surprise there. So, I mean, people know how I'm going to fight, and I'm just excited to be back. I think Charles is a great opponent, and there's no strategy besides go in there and fight the guy and get the finish.
I think it's safe to say that a lot of MMA fans out there are super excited that you're back. So let's dive into that coming out of retirement. The last time that I did speak with you, you seemed really adamant that you were done. You were happy with what you accomplished. You were walking off into the sunset. You're a family man, I know that. And this has been 2 years in the making since you had that win over Cody Durden. You walked away. So what came behind the decision to come back now?
Hey man, to make it short, make it sweet. I love my family. I've always loved my family, and yeah, I walked away to be, that 9 to 5 dad, and husband and to live that life. And a year and a half of living that life, me and my partner became not to be happy no more. And just life happens, and people have different goals and different views, and things just fell apart, man. And after they did, I didn't know what I wanted to do in life. I went back to my old job. I had a job that was making really good money, and it just wasn't about the money. So I went back to my old job, and then once I got back to my old job, and it wasn't the same, man. So I found the gym again. My biggest sponsor, Harvest Health, got me back in the gym. Coach Leo over at Forza Combat Sport got me back in the gym. And once I got back in the gym, I was back home. I was back where I needed to be. And a few weeks of training and, talking to my manager, I had suggested I was wanting to come back, and didn't really feel like there was much of an option for me, to try to be happy again in life. And the UFC got word about it, and they called me. So, and when they called me, and there was like, yeah, we want you if you want to enter USADA. And I was like, put me in USADA, let's go. And early July, I got entered in USADA, and July like 20th, I was drug tested, and been drug tested like 3 times already. The rest is history, and now we're fighting Charles Johnson January 14th.
Now, you saw, did they just show up randomly, right? Like, what time of the day did they show up to test you?
Well, I hear about these guys with the early and stuff, but like we have the UFC whereabouts, and UFC whereabouts is basically like, hey, let's tell them our schedule. For me, it was pretty easy because I've had a job most of my life. So I work Monday through Friday. After work, I go to the gym and stuff, and they have my house location. So it's pretty easy for them to know where I'm at. My guy is great. I mean, he's never came early in the morning. He doesn't come to my work. He usually comes to my gym right before I train. And I've never had no issue. They know where I'm at all times. And I told him like, shit, if y'all need my phone location to make this easier, like I just give you my location. So yeah, they just show up, and I love it. And I have no issue with it, man. I've had no issue, and they know. Like I said, I have probably another drug test coming up. I don't know when, but they randomly show up and just drug test you. Once they're in contact with you, they can't leave until you give them a sample.
Well, you got nothing to hide, so it doesn't matter when they show up, what time of day, so it's all good for you, my man. Now, as far as the time off, I mean, some athletes, I have to imagine, just might come back even better, especially if they're in their prime, like you, once they let their body heal up, and you know how grueling the training is for this sport. Do you feel like we're going to see an improved and even better version of you here in your next fight?
Oh man, 100%. Like, and that's what I try to explain to people. Like, I still can't fully explain why I retired, but the biggest thing about it is what people don't understand is I tried to explain that my passion was not there. Like when I go to the gym, usually I'm happy to be at the gym. I'm excited to be there. I'm ready to roll. I'm ready to train. I'm ready to learn. Uh, in 2020 I had did so much and everything going on with my father and life and working and kids and family. It was overwhelming, and I didn't want it no more. I wasn't passionate about it no more, and that's what happened. I lost my passion, and over the last year and a half of not having it no more, like literally when I retired, like I quit going to the gym, I quit running, I quit eating right, I just gave it all up. Like overnight, I gave it all up, never went back to the gym. Like a lot of people didn't understand it, but I was just trying to fulfill what I thought I needed for my life, for my family, for what I wanted. And that's what I tried to do. And it didn't work out. Now, coming with this comeback, I'm so passionate to be in the gym. I look forward to it, from CrossFit to running to jiu-jitsu. I have Ryan BJJ. I actually have a jiu-jitsu gym now where we have multiple black belts, some that are even my weight class, which is amazing because usually I roll with a lot bigger guys. So to have guys that are black belts and my weight class, it's awesome. Forza Combat Sports, we got an amazing Muay Thai. We even have a bare knuckle fighter, LT Smash. Nelson, he's fighting for the BYB title Friday night. And that guy is a monster, one of my favorite training partners. So to come back into the gym that I'm at now, it's just opened my eyes. It's just make me want it more. And tomorrow. Tomorrow is my last day of work. I put my 2-week notice in last week, so I have 5 weeks. I've never had 5 weeks of no job, so I'm more than excited.
Good for you, my man. Well, I want to circle back to camp here in a minute, but first, you mentioned that during that time off, you stopped eating correctly. So, what was the heaviest you got? I wanted like a ballpark range as to how big you got.
Oh, that's funny. Actually, I get bigger after fights. I get like patty big. Like apparently, I should have posted pictures because I would have went viral. Um, I weigh 125 the day of the fight, or the day of weigh-ins. The day of the fight, I'm 143. That's where I always go. I put 17 pounds on. The after the fight, I break 150. The day on the way home, I'm over 155, and within a week after the fight, I break 165. I've hit 173 is the biggest I've ever been. After I retired, my body actually settled and I walked around at 160. So that was my weight. And then now I maintain about 152 is my walk around weight.
Wow. So, do you think is it safe to say that eventually, maybe down the line, we could see you in the bantamweight division?
I don't know. With not working no more, I think I'll be able to just, maintain. Like, because when I fight at 135, I'm 143 the next day, no matter what. It's kind of been the same way. And if I fight at 125, I'm 143 the next day.
Hmm.
It's weird. It's because that's where my body settles after weigh-ins, and I just don't feel I'm a big enough 135er. I think flyweight will is where I'm gonna stay. But as I get older, I am 32 now, but I'm just glad I'm still young enough to make this run. I'm glad the UFC took me back, and I think flyweight's gonna be my division.
Okay. So, what is the contract that you have right now secured with the UFC? Is it a 4-fight deal that you have?
Oh, my contract was just put on hold. So when I won the Tuesday Night Contender, I had a 4-fight contract. We fought once. I have 3 fights left. The UFC, they're smart. They know what they're doing. And when they filed it to just be set back for a little bit. Obviously, I'm not the first person ever in UFC to kind of go through something like this and think I'm retiring and going through it. So the UFC are very smart people. They did it right, and I have 3 fights left on my contract. And starting off in January, I would like to get that one, and then hopefully finish off the next 2 all in 2023 and see where my career goes.
All right. Well, so you mentioned staying at 125 here, moving forward. I got to get a pick from you. We have the title fight around the corner. I think it's a week right after your fight, January 14th. Moreno Figueiredo 4. I mean, I can't remember the last time, even in the UFC, where someone has fought each other 4 times. So this is unprecedented. Who do you think wins this matchup before we ultimately, I'm sure, are going to see the 5th installment?
Yeah, what's crazy is the first time they fought each other, or it was the first or the second. Remember, they had to turn around and make weight again. That was the same thing when me and Cody we turned around and made weight, and they fought the week after us as well. So for this fight to be a week after is pretty cool, and I just really hope it happens. Because Brandon has been over there training with James. So, and the kind of situation I'm going with Jeff Molina, that's the understanding. My understanding is why I'm not fighting Jeff, and so I'm curious to see if that fight happens. I think Figgy's been out for a while, and I think he's going to have a hard weight cut. We know how big Figgy gets, and Brandon, he enjoys it. He's so natural inside the octagon, and I think he gets better throughout the rounds now. And I think Brandon's going to get the win and become the flyweight champ.
I think with this being a main event, that they're going to find a way to save this fight one way or another. I can't see this not happening. But you mentioned James, so I wanted to get your opinion on that whole thing, because I do see, on your Instagram. Obviously, I follow you. You'll post, who you think is going to win. You'll post the fight card and you'll circle who the winners are. So I'm sure you're a man that likes, making a little wagers here and there, as do I, as do a lot of the MMA fans out there. So what is your overall thoughts on the whole James Krause situation?
Well, I just want to let people know, like, so DraftKings, you can play DraftKings and everything. I've been fighting with DraftKings for the past 2 years about playing DraftKings just the MMA because I'm in the UFC. Back in 2020, I got cut from DraftKings. So this is not something they've been trying to stop fighters from doing for a while, like because I got banned from DraftKings. And then when I retired, they told me I had to wait a year before I could play DraftKings again. And then after the year, they let me back in DraftKings. And then I come out of retirement and they kick me off DraftKings again. So yes, I love betting. I do flick picks. I just started that on my own just because I love fighting. But what people don't realize, my picks are not based on like me betting on all of them. It's just I'm fans of guys. I've trained with guys. I mean, I've lived with guys. Like I lived with Leonard. I lived with Cowboy out there at the ranch. Some of the guys that trained out there and fought. Like I'm always gonna pick them. I'm supporters of them. Mike the Truth Jackson. Everybody shits on him. Like I love that guy. He's been interviewing me for like 10 years. Came up since I was an amateur. So there's certain guys that I pick just because I'm a fan. And what people don't realize is if we don't have fans and people don't pick people, then we would never have this sport. People wouldn't make it. We're always going to have somebody that's picking the underdog. That's how it works. So I love it. I will always put my picks. And the betting thing with James, I think he went too far. And if they have proof he went too far, that's what's holding up here. And we also got emails like 4 months ago about fighters can't bet no more. Well, from my understanding, I couldn't bet anyway, and I don't go on these other betting sites. And I've tried occasionally, but now I won't do it because of what's going on with the UFC. I don't know if they'll like blackball my email or how it's going to work. But with the family, like they know if like I'm going through a tough injury and I'm going to fight anyway. That's why they don't want family and cornermen's doing it. Just what happened with the James Krause. Supposedly Derek Meaner was hurt. Then he goes out there, he kicks, hurts his knee, falls down, gets TKO. So I'm curious to see what happens. I think it's going to mess up the betting world for MMA and people that want to say we're rigged and all that. It's going to be up in the air with a lot of things. But yes, I love betting. Y'all can follow me for my flick picks. It's just for fun. I do my locks now where I circle 3 that I think that are guaranteed. I'm 3-1 on my locks in the last 4, so doing pretty good on those.
Okay. Well, real quick, because I am so disappointed that the Glover Teixeira, Yuri Prohaska rematch is not happening now. Who did you think was going to win that rematch for the light heavyweight title?
Honestly, I thought Glover was going to get it this time. I thought he would wrestle smarter, or also stay on his feet if he's winning more like he was last time. I think he would have came in a lot smarter on that fight. But then again, I mean, Yuri's a beast, man. And it's kind of crazy what happened with him. It's like, not only did he get hurt, but he like straight up gave up his title, said he's going to be out for a long time. And, but I think Glover made the right decision by stepping out on this fight and letting Jan fight, however you say the other dude's name. The Russian's going to win it. I would like to see Yan upset him. But I don't see it happening. I don't think Yan can get it to the ground, and I don't think his power is on the level of this Russian.
Yeah, that's going to be a really interesting main event right there for the now vacant title. Well, let's dive into camp here, and then obviously talk about this matchup with Charles Johnson. You mentioned, you're giving your notice here just around the corner, and you're going to have 5 weeks to just devote to getting ready for this opponent. So, do you have anything special in place for this 5 weeks of camp, or are you just going to be nose to the grindstone, just around the guys that you're around right now, just getting more work in?
Oh yeah, I stay here. It ain't broke, don't fix it, man. My coach, my team, we got something great here. I got amazing wrestlers from Sand Springs, Oklahoma, that come out and help me. I'll be jumping over at practice, go wrestling practice. I've got it all here, man. And later down the road, when I'm established, making more money with fighting, I'll go hit other camps. My boy Jacob Silva, he fought Jeff Molina. He trains down out of Houston with Adrian Yanez and them. They did invite me down to get some work with me, especially since Jacob fought Jeff Molina on the Tuesday Night Contender. But I wasn't able to make it all happen. Like I said, I'm just now quitting my job. I've kind of managed my money, to make sure my bills are paid throughout the time I fight, and then hopefully, do good in the fight, and then I'm able to manage out from there and stay active. So that's my game plan, and I'm all in, man. I just, put my 2 weeks notice in. Uh, I got my girls to make happy, and I got me to make happy, and that's my goal in life now. Just for me to be happy, my girls to be happy, and try to give them as much as I can. And the best way I can do that is beating people up.
Well, the smile hasn't come off your face, man. So I can tell that you're in a good spot right now, which is very exciting to see. All right. So Charles Johnson, 12-3. We talked about his last fight, really tough fight, fought win over Zumagulov. So when you look at this matchup and just how it's going to shake out, like tell me ultimately, how you see this finishing. I have to imagine you via finish somehow. What's your official prediction? How does this go?
Hey, man, I'm a finisher through and through. Charles, he's a good dude. He's a smart fighter. I think he's got great IQ, especially when he's going backwards. He throws a lot. He's got good takedown defense. I mean, he fought one of the biggest prospects right now in the flyweight division. However you say his name, the Russian Mokov, or however, I don't know, the 125er that we have. I mean, that was his first fight in the UFC, and he went to a decision. I mean, he fought uh some other guy outside of the UFC that is a wrestler. He lost a close decision like before he made it to the UFC. And like you said, he's never been finished. This guy's 12-3. He's fought some of the best flyweights there is. He won the flyweight title. I love the matchup. And all I can predict is a finish. Obviously, people are going to say submission. I'm 16-5 with 14 wins by submission. I mean, if I say he's going to be my first knockout, then you're gonna think I'm crazy. But I throw hands, I throw feet. I got good wrestling. I'm the brick for the reason. It's because my game's solid all over, and I do throw bricks as well, but they just ain't landed yet. So we'll see what happens. Like I said, my game plan is always to finish. I just don't want to hit the scorecards. I mean, look at his split decision loss. Some people say he lost. Some people say he won. Yeah, hey, I looked at the stats. It says he won.
Mhm.
So I don't look at the fight. That's not my job. That's the judge's job. That's why when I fight, I do everything in my power to finish the fight because I don't want the judges, having to, I worst thing to hear when you're up there is a split decision. When you're getting your name announced and you don't hear the scorecards, they're doing a split decision. It doesn't matter if you think you won or lost. Both fighters immediately their balls drop and they're like, "Oh no, like what's gonna happen?" So that's one thing I don't want to happen. If you don't hit the scorecards, I know I'm getting my win money and a possible bonus if you get the finish. So that's what I'm looking for. I know Charles is very active. He's looking to get a bonus as well. I like his style, and I think we're gonna have two flyweights run right into each other January 14th.
You mentioned his fight with Muhammad Makayev, one of the top prospects in the not just the division but the sport, and he couldn't finish Charles Johnson. What is this gonna say about you if you go in there and you get him out of there?
Oh, well, Makayev tweeted he wanted to smoke. I don't think he really did. He said that, but being like 5, 6 weeks out, that guy, I don't know if he complains that, like, he has a big weight cut and stuff like that too. Like, I have a big weight cut too, like it's just, I've been doing this my whole life. And that's a fight I want down the road, most definitely. And if I go out here and I finish Charles, then that's a fight I can call for. I have a few lined up that I would like to call for, but I'm not overlooking Charles at all. Too many fighters do that. So the main goal now is to go out there and beat Charles and let the world know I'm back. I need to do it in good fashion. Like I said, I left in good fashion. Now I need to come back in good fashion.
All right, man. Well, it all happens January the 14th. Jimmy the Brick Flick back in action against Charles Johnson. Always great talking to you, my man. It's been far too long, so it's a real pleasure to have you back on the show here today. Before we do sign off, as always, I want to give you the floor. Tell people where they can follow you on social media. If you have anything to plug, the floor is yours, my man.
I appreciate it, man. And I just dropped merchandise. It's the brick merchandise. Unfortunately, the link just ended last week. So I'll have some extra orders. So if you just follow me on the Brick MMA on my Instagram, or if you follow me on Facebook, my personal Facebook's out of friend request. So I just tell people it's my fan page, Jimmy the Brick Flick. You can even type in www.thebrickmma.com and it takes you straight to my fan page. I got that patented, why it takes you straight to my fan page. I'll have some extra merchandise, and then I'll be dropping a new link. I'm trying to push this new logo of mine, the brick. I just really want to brand myself. And I just want to give a shout out to all my sponsors for the support. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be able to quit my job tomorrow. So tomorrow's the last day of 5 weeks of training camp to get ready for Charles Johnson, January 14th at the Apex in Las Vegas. So I want to give a shout out to Harvest Health, Industrial Motor Services, Tulsa Sport Acupuncture, Evolved Health and Wellness, Palmer Law, Primary Collectibles, Broadway Barbershop, The Parlor Hair and Ink, International Crematory Services. I told him I'm going to send the bodies over there to him once I get done with them. Inkwell Printing, HKA USA, Forza Combat Sports, CrossFit Sand Springs, and Ryan BJJ. If it wasn't for all of them, I wouldn't be able to do this. I'm excited to be back, and please tune in January 14th. I'm going to make history again.